everyone, this video is going over the terms population, sample, parameter, and statistic as they are used in Introduction to Statistics. So to start us out, we want to make a distinction between population and sample. So basically a population is a group of, it could be people or items or things or whatever it is that you're studying. It's the group that you're interested in. And then from that population, typically you will select, usually at random, although there are different ways to select samples that you'll see later on in the text. But you'll select some portion of that population as the sample. So here's a sample research question. What is the average diameter of the trunk of a pine tree in Evergreen, Colorado? So the population here would be all pine trees in Evergreen, Colorado. That's sort of the group of, in this case, trees that we're interested in studying. The study itself would involve measuring the diameter of those trunks. But of course, we likely would not be able to measure the trunk of every single pine tree in Evergreen because that would just be impractical and it would cost a lot of money. So we would use some sort of sampling method to select, say, 100 pine trees from Evergreen and measure those pine trees, and that would become our sample. So I'm visualizing this with these little orange dots within the population, randomly selected using some method, and then the group of those orange dots or those selected pine trees is the sample. Now from each of those groups, we're going to sort of describe them using some sort of numerical measure. So if we're talking about average diameter of the trunk of a pine tree, the diameter is the data that we're collecting, and the parameter there would be the average diameter of all pine trees in Evergreen. So the parameter is a numerical value like an average, although the parameter could also be a percentage or a count or other sort of summary measures that describe an entire population. So the average diameter of all pine trees in Evergreen would be a parameter. This is to contrast with a statistic, which is also a numerical value describing a group, but this is describing the sample. So if we look at the 100 pine trees that were actually measured in the study, the average diameter of those pine trees would be our statistic. And the main idea of this sort of statistics is we look at a population we're interested in, like all pine trees in Evergreen, we select a sample, and then we measure or collect data on that sample, so measure all the diameters of those pine trees, and then calculate our statistic, the average diameter. And we hope that if this is a representative sample, that statistic, the average diameter of the trees in the sample, would be close to the parameter, which is the average diameter of the pine trees, of all the pine trees in Evergreen. So the parameter is what we're really interested in, and the statistic is what we can actually measure based on the data collected. One easy way to remember this is that parameter and population both start with a P. So the parameter is some measure associated with the population, and statistic and sample both start with an S. So statistic is associated, some sort of numerical value associated with the sample. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. This is Paige Casabona with the Red Rocks Math Department.